Hi, everyone.
Hello again. We have reached in Ignatius's letters, the letter to the Romans. Last time we took up a couple of issues, one of which is, unlike most of his letters, he's not obsessed with the bishop and the elders in this one. What he is obsessed with is his intention to be martyred in Rome. And he doesn't want some of the Roman Christians, apparently many of them were, can't say many, but some had a lot of influence in the among the aristocracy of Rome, and were quite willing, quite able to use that influence to, well,
Prevent his martyrdom.
and he doesn't want that. So throughout this fairly brief letter of about 3 pages, he obsesses over this. And here we go again with that idea. But there's some very interesting data here about what the early Christians were called Christian, how they thought of Jesus, and could they pray to Jesus? And these are all controversial subjects, especially our God Jesus Christ, which we talked about last time. That phrase, what does that mean? Well, to Christians out there, the so-called Catholic Church, and we shouldn't forget that Ignatius is the one who gives us that word, Catholic, which means universal. So the concept of the universal Catholic Church comes from Ignatius, but it's obviously there in the way he writes to all the churches, assuming they all know the same things, despite the fact there's no governing body. So we wanted to read paragraphs, that is chapters 3 and 4 in Ignatius' letter to the Romans today.
So I'm reading from Lightfoot, right?
Yeah.
You have never envied anyone. You taught others. And my wish is that those instructions, which you issue when teaching disciples will remain in force. Just pray that I will have strength, both outwardly and inwardly, so that I may not just talk about it, but want to do it, that I might not merely be called a Christian, but actually prove to be one. For if I prove to be one, I can also be called one, and then I will be faithful when I am no longer visible to the world. Nothing that is visible is good, for our God, Jesus Christ, is not visible now, and he is in the Father. The work is not a matter of persuasive rhetoric. Rather, Christianity is greatest when it is hated by the world.
So he's giving as his first reason why he wants to go to his martyrdom that will prove his Christian convictions. He will prove that he is a witness in the fullest sense. He's willing to go to his death. That's what the word martyr, of course, originally meant, witness. So he doesn't want the Romans to get in the way, despite their personal feelings for him. He doesn't want them to get in the way of his witness to death.
The Roman brothers, yeah.
And notice he says, I don't want to be just called a Christian. So it's assumed that Christians are called Christians.
Yeah.
Why do we have to say that? We're surprised, really, that we ever have to say it. But there's a lot of the ex-witness community who've somehow come to the conclusion that the early church is part of the apostasy is the word Christian.
Yeah.
It's obviously in 105, it's assumed that everybody's called Christians. And then you've got our God Jesus Christ in some of the manuscripts, admittedly not all. Our God Jesus Christ, who is with the Father. You said in the Father, right?
Yeah.
So
yours also at the beginning, because I kind of didn't know what that meant at the beginning. You have never envied anyone. You taught others. I think yours, some of the other translations helped me to understand what he was talking about.
Yeah, it was Staniforth, actually, and it's the way he paraphrases it is, it was never your way to grudge anyone his success. You have been a source of instruction to others.
Yeah.
So they're not jealous and they're not competitive. They don't grudge success. And he says, my success will be my martyrdom. So please,
Let me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then paragraph 4, I'm going to read this from Staniforth. For my part, I am writing to all the churches and assuring them that I am truly in earnest about dying for God, if only you yourselves put no obstacles in the way. I must implore you to do me no such untimely kindness. Pray leave me to be a meal for the beasts. Gets a little gruesome here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pray leave me to be a meal for the beasts, for it is they who can provide my way to God. I am his wheat, ground fine by the lion's teeth to be made pure bread for Christ, or rather purest bread for Christ. Better still, incite the creatures to become a sepulchre for me. Let them not leave the smallest scrap of my flesh, so that I need not be a burden to anyone after I fall asleep. In other words, I don't want to burden you, having to bury me. Something like that.
Yeah.
When there is no trace of my body left for the world to see, then I shall truly be Jesus Christ's disciple. So intercede with him for me. Oh, that's a big one.
Mine says, pray to the Lord on my behalf.
Yeah, I'll read the whole thing so you get the flow of it, and then we'll go back and look at the translations. So intercede with him, Jesus Christ being the subject of the previous sentence. So intercede with him for me, that by their instrumentality, that is, the animals, I may be made a sacrifice to God. However, I am not issuing orders to you as though I were a Peter or a Paul. Oh, he puts himself below the apostles then. They were apostles, and I am a condemned criminal. They were free men, and I am still a slave. Though if I suffer, Jesus Christ will give me my liberty, and in him I shall rise again as a free man. For the present, these chains are schooling me to have done with earthly desires. So again, can we pray to Christ?
Yeah.
His translation, Staniforth, is so intercede with him, Christ that is, on my behalf. This is what Roberts and Donaldson say: entreat Christ for me.
Yeah.
And yours has
pray to the Lord on my behalf.
So another misapprehension going around among the witnesses is that that's another sign of Christian apostasy, the praying to Jesus and thinking of him as God. It's all here.
And a witness would want to make that Lord Jehovah. But it's obvious that it's talking about Jesus. I also think within the witness community, the ex-witness community, you have some of them saying Paul is not a real apostle, and during Paul's own life there were people who resisted his apostleship.
Yeah.
But here you have a confirmation that he was an apostle.
So the Catholic Church, and again I'm insisting we get used to using that word since it is simply the Greek for universal. The universal church, and he's writing to the churches here, so the concept's there even before the word becomes common. He's writing to the churches. The Catholic Church of that day obviously honors both Peter and Paul. They don't see them as two alternate versions of Christianity. And we remember there's a third party here, James and the people from Jerusalem. That's the common theory today, is that, well, these are just virtually opposing each other. All three of these camps were virtually different camps, and that you chose one or the other. Well, Peter and Paul are both being embraced here. Yeah. Good. So what's our link?
We're linking a video I did from the Bearing series. Was Stephen wrong to pray to Jesus? Do Jehovah's Witnesses, like Stephen, pray for their enemies to be forgiven?
See you next time.
Bye.